The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. During the supper, Jesus said to his disciples, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete." Dear sisters and brothers, the Gospel of the Lord. So before I begin sharing with you some thoughts and reflections, Father Mike has a busy day today with a lot of appointments, starting very early this morning at 8:30. So he asked if I would fill in for him. And so by the grace of God, I thank the Lord and all of you and Father Mike that I'm able to celebrate this Mass with you today. Anyone who is familiar with the book, or perhaps if you saw the movie instead, The Tale of Two Cities, then you will be familiar with the opening line, which at this point has become quite well known over the centuries, which is, "It was the best of times and it was the worst of times." And for us now, during this time of the pandemic, we might be feeling a little bit like it brings out the worst in me, or it has the potential to bring out the best in me, all of which will depend on how we take a look at the circumstances we are faced with today. So the thing is this, that sometimes in the difficult or awkward circumstances, it can be helpful for us to take a different perspective, to take a look at the situation that we are faced with and see where do we go with it from here. And so with that in mind, I share with you these following thoughts. Here's a suggestion then for reflection that we can consider. The first part that came to me is this. I would call it pet peeves. Now, maybe I've been watching too much news on TV, I don't know, but it's bringing out some of my pet peeves. For example, over and over and over, again and again and again, the newscasters keep using the word unprecedented. Every time they're talking about what's going on, unprecedented, unprecedented. Left, right, front, center, it's coming out of their ears and out of their mouths. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not a good word. I understand the word and what it means, but it has no feeling to it. It's a word that comes with no depth, no compassion, no empathy. It's just a reporting of the circumstances of the day. Which is fine, because certainly that's what it is. So the little pet peeve that it stirred up in me is what has ever happened to things are happening in ways that we've never experienced before. This is something new. This is something different. It's difficult. Who would have thought that we would be in the situation that we are faced with in this particular day and age, right here, right now, in our own city, our own homes, our own towns, indeed, across the whole world. And so, as I say, maybe I'm just watching a little bit of too much TV. But there's another one that keeps cropping up that brings out another one of my little peeves, which is this. And it's very simply the word old. I always reflect on words because words have power, words have meaning. Jesus, we know, when the Word of God came forth, things happen. When God said, then things happen. When God said, let there be, things happen. So words have power. So when I hear the word old, referring all the time, of course, to those of us who are indeed older, that's not a problem. But my peeve is, whatever became of the senior citizens? Have senior citizens all disappeared and they've all been replaced by these old people, as it were? Because old, I think, also has kind of a connotation that, well, that's it. It's old. It's over. Let's move on with the new. Or whatever happened to the term of golden agers. And I came across another one the other day, actually while playing a game of solitaire, because I've reached the level of what they call in that game royal retirees. I guess it sort of means we have nothing better to do than to perhaps play solitaire. So those are just a little bit of my pet peeves, and shows a little bit of how some of the worst can come out instead of some of the best. And so maybe then that what we need to look at is to reflect on a different way that we can approach the things that we are looking at in this particular day and age. Now, if I can find my first page, there we are. Well, okay, so the thing that needs to be brought into this, of course, is balance. So much for the peeves and so much for the worst part. But in terms of balance, to me, and whatever the circumstances may be, the balance will be to look at what is there that we can be grateful for. Where are the areas that we can experience and show forth and express our faith? So, for example, to be grateful for this great marvel of the technology that makes it possible for us to be able to, in this way, to celebrate Mass today. Of course, we would prefer that it would be in the usual way, but for the moment, that's just not the way it is. And so through live streaming, I've seen myself in this case as sort of what I might call the fourth man, because where there's only allowed to be 4 people in the church at this present time, no more than 4. So sometimes if it happens that somebody else is going to be here, like sometimes Tyler has been here to share music or someone else for another reason. So when that person is here, then I can't come to the Mass because then I would be the 5th person and we're only allowed to have 4. So, but here's the thing, for me, the grace in that was at any of the times that I have been able to attend as the 4th person, I've been able to attend the Mass, I felt from my point of view, to attend Mass on your behalf. That you can't be here physically, but I can be. And so any of the times that I'm here, I want you to know that I'm here because I feel like I can at least in some way represent you, be your presence here with JR and Kevin and Father Mike. And so it's one way then for us to seek some of the graces and blessings. So, and also the other night, Tuesday, I didn't receive communion at that point. And part of it for me, that was being in solidarity with you, because you can't be here to physically receive the Holy Communion. And so that was a way for me to express my love and concern for all of you and to be celebrating the Mass in solidarity with you. But I'm also very grateful for all of you and for the experience of how absence certainly indeed does make the heart grow fonder. I'm grateful for the sun and the moon and for the stars and for the great marvelous gift of indeed of all of creation across the whole world. And gratitude for the gift of faith and to be able to be of service to the community here at St. Ignatius, and perhaps in some other ways also to the global community as well. I'm grateful for Father Mike, for Anna, for Kevin, for JR, for Simon, and for Zoom, which kind of makes it possible for us to share again in various different ways. And I'm also grateful for all of the various parish ministries and the team members of our parish, and especially in a particular way for all of our children and the young people of our parish family. And so there's a lot of occasion for us to seek balance and solace and consolation in what we're doing. I'm certainly grateful for my own family and for all of my friends. And as it happens, I wasn't scheduled to celebrate the Mass today, but in God's blessings, there are two other blessings in it for me today. One, I have a friend today who's going into the hospital for some serious cancer questions that they're dealing with. And the second one is a bit more joyful. It's my granddaughter, Sophia, today becomes a teenager, and she's celebrating her 13th birthday. I can't be there with them. They are in South Carolina, but I can certainly be with her as soon as I get on the phone after the Mass later today. And so I'm also grateful then for all of these things. I'm grateful for the family and friends, as I say, as well as all of the responders, the first responders, all of the medical people, all the professionals, all the people who are stepping out, people who are coming forward to volunteer in various times in different ways, again across the whole globe, as well as the living martyrs, heroes, and saints who have been laying down their lives for all of us. And in some cases, indeed, they have literally been laying down their lives as this terrible disease has taken their life also. Our hearts go out, of course, to everyone, especially those who have lost family and friends to this pandemic that we're faced with today. Who of us can hear about any of this or see any of it reported on the news wherein our hearts do not go out to the people who are suffering in that way? Some of us, in our own case, our own friends or our own families. And again, sisters and brothers, it's across the whole globe. And if we as people and people across the world, and especially some of our maybe civic leaders, if we can't get the message at this point that we need each other because we are all connected, we are all in this, and we need each other. And so in this way, in a maybe awkward and difficult way, in a difficult time, our love grows in depth for each other, in the longing that we have to see one another, to see each other again, even though we may not be able to shake hands at that time or even to hug each other. Who knows, maybe ever again, we'll see. In either case, I long to see you all again. I long to see you face to face, to be able to speak to you face to face, hopefully without a mask, but there too, who knows? Even at a distance, if need be, at 6 feet, or if you prefer 2 meters, if you prefer it that way. So here we are now on May the 7th, 2020. Today's psalm, the response to the psalm is, "Forever I will sing the praises of the Lord." In chapter 13, there's one point where Jesus says that, he says, we hear Jesus say, "I tell you this now, so that you may believe that I am He." And when I read that, I thought too in terms of the Lord saying, I'm saying all of these things to you now so that you may know that indeed I am with you at all times, in all circumstances, in all situations. I will never leave you abandoned. I will never abandon you. I am with you always. And so, dear sisters and brothers, in this year of 2020, perhaps as best we can try to move forward with 2020 vision instead of lamenting some of the difficult times. We need to acknowledge the difficulties. We need to acknowledge our grief. But we can't just keep living in that. We must keep moving forward in faith. And to help us to do that, this month, again, is a special month. May is the month of Mary. It's a time when we will celebrate Mother's Day. For some of us, maybe many of us, our mums have already gone on home to the Father, and so they join us spiritually. And then finally, towards the end of the month, we will come to that great feast of Pentecost. And so, if we can't celebrate it physically with one another, we certainly can celebrate it spiritually. And so, dear sisters and brothers, because I've been given this opportunity today to share with you in this grace of celebrating the Eucharist, I would just like to conclude by saying, I love you, I miss you, and I long to see you. I long to be able to see you face to face, to maybe sing and dance, to laugh and to pray. I am praying for you and for your families, and for that, let's ask God, please, to bless us all.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saves.